We're beekeepers from Amazing Bee. My name is Dana, and this is John. And we're here just to talk a little bit, really briefly, on beekeeping. And so we have a few adults and a couple kids. We'll try and keep it, just very basic. I'll make sure John doesn't go over time because he gets very passionate. So we have some samples and stuff to show you guys, and we'll hand out some information. Actually, I have some for the adults. I'm going to hand out some basic beekeeping terminology and information. And then you can so it gives you an idea just of what you need. And then we have some coloring pages for the kids and stuff too. Just the kids? Well, you can anybody can have coloring pages. We'll give you guys coloring pages. So I'll turn it over to John. He's been beekeeping for about 15 years. I've been doing it for about 5. And both for Benefits of Beekeeping equipment and run the education and workshop programs there. So, all right. Hi, John.
Hi everyone. So I'm going to talk to the boys. Okay? So, but please feel free to ask any questions because I just want to make sure they know what I'm talking about and ask for any elaboration, any questions you have at any point. Just interrupt me, no problem. Okay? So you guys are both doing really well today because I already talked to you about it. Okay? So how do you want a real beekeeper?
How do you know? Is he just
I got a shirt that says bee on it, and I'm wearing a belt. This makes all the difference. Real beekeepers wear a belt. And this belt's got a lot of tools that I'm going to use when I take care of my bees. I got little lifters and things like that. We call this a hive tool. And I have a knife here, but I've got it closed up just in case. And some pliers and all sorts of other little things we carry as well. And this is because I'm terribly sloppy. I lose my stuff all the time. Yeah?
You have a tool belt at home that you
Oh, really? Yeah, for your tools?
Yeah.
Well, this one's got a magnet on it, so
That is neat.
yeah, I still lose my tools all over the place. But, okay? That's what it's for. So it means that if there's bees all over me, I don't have to hunt and look for stuff. So we're going to talk just a little bit about bees and about honeybees, okay? So honeybees fall into a category called pollinators. Okay, and they're the ones that make your fruits grow and your plants grow and flowers and all that sort of stuff. And the bees will go from flower to flower. So they'll go to one flower all nice and happy, and they'll rub up against all the stuff inside, the pollen and everything else. They'll get it collected on their legs. They stick it in these little suitcases on their legs. We call them pollen sacks. And then they'll find another flower, and they'll leave some of that pollen behind. Dana's going to be hunting around for some pictures to show you what it looks like. And they'll leave a little bit of pollen behind, and they'll go to another flower, and then eventually they'll come back to the hive, which is their home. And when they get there, other bees will take that pollen. They'll make it into food, and they'll feed the baby bees as well. The baby bees are 3 stages. One, egg is the very first one, and then they go into something called a larva. And then we go into a pupa, which is the bee that's going to start to, I better talk slower because she's going to get back to the picture. We're looking for a pupae. Pupae is a hard word to spell, it's harder to say as well. So, do you know how many types of bees there are in the world?
What do you think? How many? How many different types of bees?
There's 5 figures on this one. So it's about 25,000 different types of bees and pollinators. Okay? So what you see on this picture is an egg that's a really, really, really tiny baby. After 3 days, it's going to be an egg. And then it's going to get a little bit bigger, and it looks like a croissant, which is like a bread bun. Okay, and it sits like that for another 6 days. And then the bees will cover it up, and it'll start to make eyes, and make antennas, and legs, and wings, and all sorts of other things as well. And eventually, in about 16 to 24 days, it's going to come out as an adult bee. So it's a lot faster than you guys as humans. So it's about a month, less than a month. It took your mom 9 months for you. So the bees are much quicker and much more efficient. So there's 3 different types of what we call castes in a beehive. You know what a beehive is? That's right. That's right. It's Mama's and Papa's house. and all little babies. So we call it a bee house. Okay? There's all sorts of different types. The one we deal with is a beehive, but the bees also live in trees and in rocks and in holes in the ground and inside hollow reeds, all over the place. They will live in many, many different places. We just like to work with the ones that are in a hive because it's easier for us. Okay? So a hive is just a whole bunch of rooms that the bees will make. Let me show you one here. So this is what we call comb. It's called honeycomb. And this is wax. This is wax that the bees have made. And inside all these little things are little rooms. And that's where the mother bee will lay eggs in there. And then the bee will come out as an adult. So I'll let you feel this and touch this to see how life is. Just be careful, that's going to be a little sticky over that. That's honey. Okay? So that's the rooms that you're going to find in the hive. So we have 3 types of bees in a hive. Okay? Can you guess what they are? You already guessed one of them. You got a mama bee, right? You know what she's called? A queen, yes. You've done this before. Oh, look at that. Here's a picture of a queen, okay? So this is just a worker bee. I shouldn't say just a worker bee. This type of bee does all the work. But this is the queen bee. She's nice and long. Look at the big eyeballs that she has in here. And so that's the queen. That's the mother bee. Okay? She's the one who will lay all of the eggs and make the babies. You see that, Lucas? See that big bee? Thank you. Oh, and here's some worker bees. Okay, these ones just have to be talking. So they've got this long tongue. You ever drink? You drink from a straw? You know, you put it in your glass. And you slurp it all up. You've done it before. You've done it too. That's what the bees do as well. This is called proboscis. Okay, so it's just a great big long hollow straw. And that's what they use to suck up water and to suck up nectar, which becomes honey. And they'll trade it back and forth and pass it around as well. So it's like you sticking your tongue out and that's how you share food with your brother. Yeah. Well, it's a good thing your tongue's not bald. You'll understand a little more when you're about 16. Yeah. All right. See, this is another bee. Coming out of it. Remember I showed you that picture of the cells? Or I gave you that honeycomb cell in carrot? This is a bee coming out of one of those cells. And what it'll do, it'll chew its way out. You'll see its little antenna waving away. And it'll eat little wax, and then it'll come out as an adult bee, as a grown-up bee. Okay, so the queen, right? And the queen is the mama. Okay? So what her job is in a hive is to lay eggs, is to make little baby bees. That's all she does. That's her job. Make baby bees.
And they're very
she lives for about 5 years, and that's her lifespan. We generally keep them for less than that. Yeah, retired. Yeah. The farm.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's the first type, is the queen. She is a female, she's a woman, right? Just like mom is. Okay? And she can lay what we call fertilized eggs. And those are eggs that will be female. And then we have the males, like the daddies, okay? And the daddies are called drones. It's just a cool word to say. You say drone? That's pretty good. Now say drone. Can you say that one? It's exactly the same. That's right. You got it. Okay? So a drone is a boy bee. Okay? And you know what the only purpose in life is for that boy bee?
What do you think the boy bees do?
It helps the mama make babies. So that's all that they do. And it's really cool because the boy bees don't have to do any work. They don't have to do anything. Do you have to clean your bedroom?
Do you have to clean up? Yeah.
The boys' bees don't have to. They don't know how to do any of that stuff. All of the girl bees take care of that.
You throw some on your
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, good thing the bees have people to take care of them. So.
We didn't go in and watch it at the beach.
Yes, you went on
Right,
the
okay.
beach, and we saw bees there, but we'll talk about those after.
Right, so we have a queen bee, which is the mama. We have a drone, which is the papa. And, yeah, okay.
For the adults in the room,
That's right. So,
the boy bee dies.
that's the boy bee and the girl bee. Okay? And then we got one more type of bee in there. Okay? And that's what we call a worker bee. And she's a girl bee. She's a woman. Okay? And they do all the jobs in the hive. So they'll take care of the new babies. They'll clean the rooms up. They'll make wax. They will make honey. They'll bring nectar in. They'll guard. They'll clean out any of the dead stuff that's in the hive as well. And they'll make new cells. We call those undertaker bees. And they're really cool because they clean up all of the dead bodies, everything else that's in a hive. Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want those lying around your hive here.
Yeah. Probably get stinky.
So what else happens in a hive?
What do you think the bees do? You have no idea?
What do they make? Ooh, honey, yes. Honey is something that, Lucas, you know that too, right? So honey is something that we all know and we all love. And you're going to take some honey home with you today too. What else do they make?
What else do they make?
Do you see any candles at home? Yeah? What are candles made of?
Know the name of it?
It's made out of wax. So this is all wax that the bees have made. Okay, I'll let you hold. That's sticky.
Okay.
That's wax. You can sniff it. You can feel it.
Smells nice, doesn't it?
It smells really good. And we make candles out of that. We also make all sorts of other stuff too. We'll make lip balm and we'll make furniture polish, mustache wax. Dana's in the middle of making a whole bunch of citronella candles to keep mosquitoes away. But she makes them down on my desk. It really smells terrible. But beeswax candles smell
He
really,
still won't
really
leave
good.
though. I tried.
So how many people live in your house?
How many people live in your house?
4? Wow. Do you know how many bees live in a beehive?
A lot.
Lots, that's right. At least that much. About 80,000.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, which is a lot more than lives in your house.
Mhm.
That's a lot of bees. Do you know how long a bee lives for? So I already told you the queen lives for up to 5 years, but that female, the girl bees, they live for about 40 days. Just a little bit over a month. And then they have new ones coming in and replace them. And the drone, the male, the boy bee, lives about 5 months. And the only reason they have 5 months is because the girl bees kick them out of the hive when winter's coming. It's a rough life. But you gotta remember, they've gone through the summer now, they haven't had to do any work.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
They got fed, other people gave them a bath, they got cleaned, everything got done for them, so out they go in the winters. That wouldn't be fun for you guys, would it? You know, you want a place to stay over the winter, so that's a good reason to clean your bedroom and help with the dishes, right? I'm just making fun. So those are 3 different types of bees. No, you don't want to be a bee. You gotta work hard. So the bees, you know how the bees make honey?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, you tell me.
By
their stingers.
Well, the stingers are used for something else. Oh, I'll show you a secret, okay? You see my eye? See that red dot right in the middle of my eye? That was a bee sting yesterday.
Oh my
Got
god.
me right in the eye.
I got one here.
I got one here this morning. Yeah, bee got me there. So what did the bee get me with? What did they sting me with? The stinger, that's right. So a stinger is what the bees have for defense, okay? They will use it when they're protecting themselves or protecting their hive, or when people like me and Dana get too close to the hive.
Make 'em mad.
When we were coming here this morning, we wanted to bring you a live queen bee. So we went out to a hive and opened it up, and the bees were not very happy with us at all. So twice they chased us away.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
Well, they chased one of us away.
Was it the whole swarm that chased you, or
No,
just
just a bunch of guard bees.
Yeah,
They just
those-
came
they
boiling
can-
out of the hive. Yeah. Of course, I stood on the skid and it rocked like crazy. So,
Oh goodness.
so you don't get to see a queen bee. Okay. Sorry.
We got pictures though.
Yeah, we got pictures of it.
Yeah.
What do we have here, Dana?
Oh, I was going to show them it.
Oh,
They don't
yes,
see
thank
their, stinger coming out, but they'll push it.
This is where the stinger comes, right there. Now, what happens with a stinger is there's two types of stingers. One of them has got a jab point, like a spear. So when it sticks in you, it comes out. It comes out of the bee, and you're sitting there and you got this little stinger. I was going to leave this one in my finger today just to show you. Just for a few minutes, I was thinking. So you just got to take it out. I had a terrible time getting anybody to take the stinger out of my eye yesterday. No one would do it. I gave him a knife and said, "Here, scrape it out." But finally, we got it out. So,
Oh, good.
because what happens is, at the end of the stinger, so the big bee comes along and says, "You're in front of my house. Sting you," right? So you get this little thing, ouch. And what's on it is this little pouch on the top that's got all this poison in it, and it just goes squish, 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 squish for about half an hour. Oh, there's poison in you. So we want to get that stinger out. So we just go boom, like that, just flick it out of here. It's harder than an eyeball because it's soft. So you want to take that stinger out. The queen also has a stinger, but hers doesn't have that little jabby end. So she'll sting you and she can sting you again. The other bees only get one time to sting you. And then it kills them. So they don't really like to sting you. This, remember I was talking about the bees pollinating, and they're going from flower to flower, and they're collecting pollen. And we're putting it in their little suitcases in their legs. That's what that is. You find me there.
Pollen?
Droplets. So that's what they'll stuff it in. The bees have got 3 sets of legs. So they got 6. How many legs do you have, Lucas? 2. That's right. Okay. You have 2 legs. The bees have got 6. Okay. 2 on each side. 2 and 2 and 2. And they'll use the ones in the back to stuff these suitcases full of pollen like this. Or they'll stick it full of medicine. Okay, this is what we call propolis. This is bee medicine, actually. And they'll stuff it in the same little.
I can't open that.
Right? It's very, very hard to get good help sometimes.
So there's, you can smell that, that's pollen.
So that came right from a flower. And the bees will use that for food.
Yeah.
They'll make what we call bread, bee bread, and they'll feed that to the new babies, and they'll also eat it themselves.
That's just
And
right.
they'll also bring in nectar, which will be the honey, and they feed that too.
It's a little older.
So this is just a sample of the medicine that they bring in as well.
So do they make that?
Yep, well, it's tree sap actually. And what they'll do is they'll collect the tree sap, they'll
So that's-
regurgitate it into this
It's just like,
antibacterial, antimicrobial.
what is that one?
And that's to protect the hive?
Does a number of things. One, it stops infection. So what they'll do is they'll put that in the bottom of every cell, and put food on it, and then they'll lay an egg on it. So it's great. It's their basic medicine. They also use it to glue everything together. So they'll glue the hive boxes all together. They'll glue the things on top. And it's really, really hard to get it apart. That's why we use these things, okay? These tools. Because that's what I have to use to get the boxes off of the hive, and so I can get the frames out as well. Okay? So I'm going to show you something.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is called a frame, okay? And this is the frame. This is what the bees will live in. So they will make all of this wax. Remember I gave you that piece of wax to look at? So this is just a frame where the bees have made all these little rooms in here. These all have 6 sides, and they make this with wax. They will make the wax themselves as well. On about day 6 to day 12, somewhere in there of a bee's life, they make wax. And it's you can see these little tiny sheets of white coming out from back between their wings. And they'll make these things, and they'll make all these rooms. So I'm going to let you see this one as well. You can hold it as well and see how heavy it is. It's not really heavy. Okay? So that's all wax that the bees have made. And that's what we use later on to melt down and make candles. So the bees have made all of that themselves.
How long would that typically take?
Depends on what the food flow is, right? At any particular time. Not very long. And you got to remember you've got 80,000 bees running around, and at least 60,000 of those are doing stuff like this.
But it does take, so each bee has, I don't think I have the pictures, I don't see it, but each bee has glands on their torso that produce the wax. So, so each bee can create 8 flakes of wax, and it takes one bee 12 hours to make 8 flakes. So there's a lot of, that's why you need 80,000 bees.
How many pounds of wax to make a pound of honey?
No, pounds of honey to make a pound of wax.
Yeah,
so 8.5 pounds of honey roughly to 10 pounds for 1 pound of wax.
Wow.
So this is why when we harvest, often beekeepers, what we do is we call spinning it. So we spin, we want to uncap, when the boys come back we can show you, but we uncap the frames so that we can spin the honey out. So then they have this to start with. They have the frame, we call it drawn comb, so then they don't have to start from scratch. So it takes them less time to rebuild and fill back up with honey. So we try to put back the combs of honey when we can. So,
And how many combs do you have at Dancing Bee?
how many hives? Or, well, we had 400 going into spring.
Or we fluctuate.
Yeah.
If we're doing pollination, we run anywhere from 5,000 down to 100, 150.
Yeah. So we do have some hives on site at the staff, and we do for tours and stuff. So right now we have 10 or 12 hives for tours, and we do honeycomb and different things like that. But they're all off-site in different areas. So each box is like this, very similar, and it's like 10 frames per box. And one of these is called a medium, which is just the size of the frame. So roughly on average, you're gonna get 5-6 pounds per frame. So per box, you might get 50 or 60 pounds per honeysuckle, which I took your other part, sorry.
That's okay. We're gonna run
So
it
this
over
is a
again for the
full-
boys.
Yeah, we're
So
just
you got a
waiting
chance
for
to
the-
hold that?
Yeah.
Yep, you did. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you this one, and you can hold that one.
Oh, wow.
You could just see her hands.
Wow. I never realized honey was this heavy.
Yeah, so that is a frame of capped honey. About 8 pounds. 6 to 8 pounds. And that's last year's honey. So, yeah, so go back here.
All right, so this
So we practice what
is
we're
a
going to
honey
tell you.
frame. Do you want to hold that? So try and lift that one. It is pretty heavy, isn't it?
Oh my goodness.
So that's roughly 5 or 6 pounds of honey in that one. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so that's the little honey, and these are what we call mediums. We also use deeps. I like to use deeps, and they weigh about 10 pounds. So you got 100 pounds per box. So I'm going to show you this thing right here. So what happens is the bees will make all these rooms, right? We call them cells. They make it out of wax, and then they put eggs in there. What you see here is this is what we call capped brood. The brood is the baby bees. And in this case, these are boy bees, because they're a little bit bigger than the other types of bees we have. I didn't bring any of those. So these would all have been drone or boy bees. Inside each one of these little bumpy things is a little bee. But of course, they're dead right now, but that's what they do. And then they cover it up with wax on top of that as well. You want to see, Lucas? There are all these bees inside these little rooms. So I kept this because I thought, oh, cool, how many times do people get to see drone? So that would be boy bees inside there, okay? So boy bees can't have babies. They don't do very much, do they?
There you go.
Not at all. Okay, so I got a little treat here for you. Here we go, Lucas. Put your finger in there, okay? Now lift your finger.
Was it good?
There you go, Mom. This is nectar, so there's not quite honey yet. certainly sample it, stick your finger in it, and lick it.
Is it not
So,
as sweet as honey?
nectar is what the bees will bring in from a flower. So, we know what the bees do, right? They pollinate, so they go from flower to flower to flower, and they help them make fruits and make vegetables and the trees to bloom and flowers to grow and whatnot. But they also will bring back nectar, okay? And that's what this was. Nectar is the sweet stuff that comes out of the pistils and the stamens of a flower. So they will bring this back to the hive. And you remember those bees that had those big noses, the big tongues, and they were touching each other? That's right, just like that. So if I had let you stick your tongue in this, I'm not going to. That's what the bees were doing too, right? Exactly like that. So you'll have a bee bring this nectar in from a plant, and they'll meet another bee in the hive, and that bee will take the nectar away, and they'll take it in, and they'll put it inside these wax cells or rooms. Remember the bees have made this? Now other bees have brought in the nectar, and the bees are now taking it. Aha. She just likes this because the word is really cool to say.
Trophallaxis. Trophallaxis.
So, honey is the only food product in the world, the naturally made food product that has no shelf life, lasts forever. So you can find honey that's been thousands of years. It will still be good for thousands of years later. So the bees will bring this nectar in, right? Do you know how much water is in that? Well, for every 100 parts, 80 parts of that is going to be water. So what goes bad? Water is what goes bad, because water attracts microorganisms, bacteria, things, and that'll fester and just go bad. So what the bees will do, they have to get this down to 16, 17%. How are they going to get all that water out of here?
What do you think they're going to do? Think they bring some towels?
They're not going to use towels. Well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to flap their wings. Okay? And the bees will flap the wings like crazy, and they will suck all of that water out until they get it down to where they want it, and then they'll cap it over. Now that's that frame I showed you of honey. This one. Okay. So what the bees have done, you see all the honey in here, and now they've covered it with wax, so the honey doesn't drip out. So I can hold this upside down and hope there's no honey dripping out. And that's what'll happen. It's all honey, but it's all got wax on top of it. Okay, that will last forever as long as it's not perforated. As long as honey is like a sponge, it'll attract moisture out of the earth, and that's what's going to go back.
Is that why honey crystallizes sometimes?
No, crystallization is depending on the flower source that it comes from. It's simply the size of the crystals that are in there. All honey will eventually crystallize. It's just a natural process.
Pure honey.
Yeah.
Real honey, of course.
So if you buy, let's just say big brand, Billy Bee honey, for example, in the stores, it all looks the same. It's all the same color, and it's all liquid. It's mostly corn syrup. What's happened is they've mixed a whole bunch of different honeys, so it all looks the same, and then they've heated it to the point where all of the really good stuff is gone, the propolis is gone, the body parts are gone, wax is gone, all of that stuff as well. It's broken down the crystalline structure.
So that's pretty much crystallized honey.
Yeah. You can put that, you can warm that up and it'll go back to a liquid state as well.
Yeah, you just put it in a warm water bath and it'll be crystallized.
So for example, honey that comes out of Saskatchewan and Manitoba, oftentimes there's big crystals in it, and that'll crystallize very quickly. Your flower source around here, depending on what it is, will crystallize faster, faster or slower, depending on what it is. So, honey is a natural product. It's not going to go bad unless it gets water in it, which is why we put lids on our honey jars. Not just to keep little boys out of the honey, but to keep water out too. Does anybody have any questions? Sorry, I should have brought more of these, but I'm going to let you guys take this home with you, okay? So what this is honey that the bees have made. So there's wax in the bottom, and then the bees have built all the little rooms on top, and then they fill it full of honey, and then they've taken all the water out, and then they put wax on top. So you know what it's like? It's like a big sandwich. But instead of bread, you've got wax on the bottom, wax on the top, and all this honey in the middle. So you can eat the same way. You can just chew it like bubble gum and spit the wax out, or you can suck on it and suck the wax off, or you can use a fork and a knife, depending on what you want. But so that's what we call comb honey or honeycomb. Let you guys have one last look at it before I give it away. So we know that bees are pollinators. That would help to make the fruits and the foods, and a lot of 85% of the food we eat is a direct result of pollination. So without the bees, and not just honeybees are only one of 1,000 different types of pollinators. You got your insects, you got your birds, you got us. What kind of bird or bee is that one?
What are you pretending to be? Are you pretending to be an insect?
Well, I'm going to let you play a game. Okay? So let's talk about talking and communication. Okay? So how does Mom tell you to clean your room? This could be telling. You start screaming to tell me how Mom does she tell you to go clean your room?
Does she use words?
No, you just know how to do it. Well, when we're telling people what to do, we usually talk, right? So we'll use what we call verbal cues. I'll say, all right, I would like you to go and clean your room now. But you know what? Bees can't talk. So you know how bees communicate?
I don't think they can.
All sorts of different ways. They got these big antennas up here, right? So sometimes they'll touch each other with that, or they'll rub them, or they'll create electromagnetic frequencies that tell them where food is, where water is, how far away their hive is, tell them all sorts of different things. They also go by smell, so pheromones. So you know when you get dirty, smelly, stinky feet?
Does that ever happen? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bees get the same thing, except it's not really stinky. But they leave scents or pheromones on their feet that tell other bees, I went to that flower, where this is home. So they leave smells that tell other bees where home is and where they've been. They also release pheromones, which are smells that may say things. When I went to that hive, the bees released a pheromone that says, hey, there's somebody here and he may be a bad guy. So the bees came out and they stung me. Okay? So that just told me, oh, get away from those bees. Okay? So they leave smells as well. But one of the most important ways of doing it, they'll make noise, they'll vibrate, they'll buzz, they'll hum, flap their wings, but they do a dance as well. That's not bad, actually.
Some good fluffing.
So bees will do what we call either a round dance or a waggle dance. I like to say waggle dance because it's really cool. And what the bees do is they go around this thing here. Dana and I will show you. Okay? So they come waltzing around up here like this, and then they make a big circle around like this way, and then they'll come up the center again, and they wiggle their bumps, and they flap their wings, and then they go this way again. Right? And they'll just keep doing that. And they'll we can do it faster. And that tells all the other bees different things. So it depends on how fast I wiggle my bum, how fast I flap my wings, where I stick my bum up in the air, how wide a circle I'm doing. It'll tell all the other bees things like, hey, there's a fruit tree over here, it's 2 miles away, it's up at 45 degrees, the sun is over here, there's a tree here, that's where you want to go. And when the other bees say, oh, okay, and I fly off to that, and then they'll smell of the bees of that saying, hey, I was here. So that's a way that bees communicate. It's really fun to watch it because you can watch all these bees wiggling their little bums around. So anytime you want, you can, if you don't want to talk to mom and dad, you can just wiggle your bum and tell them what you want as well. So.
Is that what you're going to do every time you're hungry? Just wiggle your bum?
We do things like this in some of our workshops where we'll hide things, like hide chocolates and things like that. And then other kids will have to tell other kids how to find it just by wiggling their bums. You know? So it's, you got to be really, really good at it. You want to be able to point to where it is. Okay? So bees. We know what the pollinators. We know that because of bees and other types of pollinators, 85% of our foods come as a direct result of that pollination that happens, okay? Or cross-pollination. We know that the bees have 3 types of bees, right? They got a bumblebee, a queen, they got a dad bee, a drone, and they got a worker bee, or a female worker. Okay? 3 types of, we know they don't live for very long, and there's lots of them in a hive as well. So bees are important in our whole way of life because it makes food for us, yeah? Along with all sorts of other types of pollinators. Dana, do you have anything you want to add?
Do we want to show, I know you like getting stung. I don't like getting stung, so we can show some of the equipment. Do you think you would want to go see bees if you were protected? Would you want to come see them? Because we do offer tours and stuff like that. So we have suits and everything. You can actually come up close as you want with the bees. So generally speaking, John is a glutton for punishment, so he doesn't wear anything. He likes to go like that. I don't like them around my face.
The bees
so,
like me.
Yeah, they do. So what I do, does anybody know what this might be called? No? It's called a veil. So this is one of my favorite ones. So it's like a sun hat, and then I can put my veil on.
If I was a bee coming along,
so they don't bug me in the face.
I'd wander all over here. I couldn't get there to sting her.
So it's pretty good. But you know, I still get stung there. But you know that's okay. I just so this helps protect their face. Now, what do you think we would wear if we don't want to get stung in the arms?
Armor?
So, if armor. So sometimes we want to wear a jacket. All right. So there's a jacket, but in the summer it gets pretty hot, and there's a veil with this one as well, so you can wear your veil. So that's if they're getting my arms and stuff, and my legs are still okay. Now sometimes they're just really mean, or they're just in the fall, especially when they're gathering their food for winter and they don't want, or if they've been attacked by bears or skunks, then they get really cautious. So you can wear a whole suit if you want, right? So there's a whole suit and it has a veil. Now these aren't sting proof. It will help prevent the stings. The only thing that might be sting proof is the
On
armor.
Halloween, you could dress up like a spaceman.
Right? Yeah, you could be a beekeeper.
All
So
that too.
This is so this is part of the protection, and John has something in his hand that actually helps us as well.
Anybody know what this is? A steamer? What am I going to steam?
Milk.
A smoker?
It's called a smoker. That's right. And this one kind of stinks because we used it. So it smells like a campfire. Every day I go home, my wife says, "You been out camping?" So this is a smoker because you know what? The bees like to survive. They don't want to die at all. So the bees like to live in the forest. So what happens when a forest fire happens and all of a sudden the bees smell all this smoke and they know that their home is going to burn down and all of their food is going to go. So when they smell smoke, they go inside and they eat as much honey as they can so that they will have food while they're looking for a new home. So it triggers this thing in their mind that says, oh, we gotta go, we gotta stuff ourselves full of honey. And they'll start again. What this smoker does is it sort of fools the bees, okay, as well. So if I'm going into a hive, I'll just go, oops. It's not smoke, don't worry.
Okay.
Ashes.
Just ashes, just ashes. So anyway, so yeah, so we'll poof a little bit of this stuff around. The bees think that there's a fire, and they go and they eat their food, and they're too busy eating food to worry about stinging me, right? So I can go into a hive with a lot less fear that I'm going to get stung. So we use a smoker. It's not a question.
Just
Right?
pretending.
Okay, so that's what that is. Okay, we light a big fire in the bottom of it, get it really nice and going up, with big, big clouds of smoke, and then we'll smoke our bees. Okay, so is there anything you want to know about bees?
What do you want to know?
I told you everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
What are the top ways that you think humans can help protect bees and bee colonies?
That's a really good question, especially in light of the ongoing controversy between pesticides, neonicotinoids, spermicides, fungicides, miticides, all these other sides. The biggest way is to learn to live together. For example, we'd love to see no pesticides. That would be really great. However, we need them. Farmers need them. Crops need them. So we usually say, let's make friends. If you've got a farmer living beside you, he's entitled to make a living as well. So if he's going to spray, we usually say, could you tell us when you're going to spray? Tell us what you're going to spray. And can you do it when there's no wind? Can you do it in the afternoon when the bees are in? If you can't, give me some warning so I can lock my bees up. So it's that communication, and then you always give them a free jar of honey. That goes a long, long ways. So yes, that communication is really important. Another one is basic habitat. I have a great big sign on my lawn that's saying, please don't pick the dandelions, because the bees love it. So we don't pick our dandelions. So I don't have to mow the lawn, everybody's off there. Planting, pollinator gardens. I've got around one of my bee yards, I've got massive amounts of flowers and pollinator, native and non-native as well, because it provides food habitat for the bees. So those are certainly 3 ways. And you have a degree in environmental science.
Yep. So I always say too is we always have to remember that honeybees are an invasive species. They're not native to North America. So our honeybees, they're here to stay. They're very important for our economy. So there's a lot of people who are like, well, our honeybees are never going to go extinct simply because they're livestock. So if we think about our honeybees as important pollinators, it's going to trickle down to our native pollinators as well. So especially right now, the bumblebee has just been put on the endangered species list, especially the rusty patch bumblebee. I know you have a talk later this afternoon about the different pollinators, so you guys, if you come back, it'll be really interesting because I'm sure you're going to talk about that, the modern butterfly. So we plant native. Honeybees will feed on just about everything that they can. But if you plant native plants for our native pollinators, then that will also benefit our native pollinators. So John had mentioned that our honeybees are responsible for 85% of our food, which is true. Native pollinators are responsible for everything else. So honeybees are a very important commercial pollinator, and they're important everywhere as well, but a lot of it is commercial. This is partly why the food costs can go up if our honeybee populations go down. The native pollinators are for the native plants or native trees. So if we don't plant invasives, we plant natives. Again, leave your dandelions. No mow May. Don't cut your grass in May. Try and do what you can. Leave brush on your, leave brush piles on your yard. Don't rake your leaves in the fall. Leave them. All that kind of stuff will also help not only the honeybees but the native pollinators as well. Even wasps. Wasps, if they're not in this place where they're going to hurt you, try and leave them because they're a very, very important pollinator. Sometimes beekeepers don't like wasps so they can destroy a hive, but we try to make it so that we can live harmoniously. Like we know, for the most part that that's what we want to do. So it's important that, again, it's the balance. Like with the pesticides and herbicides, you try to make the balance. Don't, manicured lawns are not great. So try to be as natural as you can. So.
What are the best native plants to?
So in our area, I know that there's coneflower and some butterfly bushes. The thing is with those, and I'm sure they'll talk about it this afternoon, you don't want cultivars. You want to make sure that they're native, because sometimes if they have the word cultivar on it, which is like where they sell at Home Depot and stuff like that, there's no nectar and there's no pollen, because they're sort of, a lot of them, they're ornamentals. So you don't want ornamentals. A lot of native trees, like our first trees out there that pollinate is the pussy willow. So that's actually the first source of pollen, especially for honeybees and native bees. The honeybees tend to come out faster. Our native bees won't come out until really, really warm, mid-May, and most of them are ground nesters. So you want, or they nest in the trees and stuff. So yeah, so you just want to make sure that any of the native pussy willow, offhand, I can't, brown-eyed Susan, there's just all kinds of different ones that are local to our area. So yeah.
Right now is the goldenrod.
Yeah, goldenrod. And goldenrod is very different from the one that causes the allergy.
Is it yarrow?
No, ragweed. Ragweed. So ragweed, they're similar, but ragweed is the allergy causer, and The goldenrod isn't, and goldenrod is very, very important. So this is the goldenrod is starting to come out, and that's the last really of the pollinated and nectar flow flowers. So once we know that the goldenrod is gone, that's it for pretty much any of the food for our insects and stuff. So yeah. It's got a very good strong.
Did that help?
Yes, thank you. That was very informative.
Yeah. So all we'll do right now, you can ask questions if you think. I can give you guys some. This is cotton candy. So this is honey, but it's infused with a flavoring. So it's not 100% pure honey. This isn't a honey stick. So you guys can grab one, and then your mom will let you have it. You can put it in tea, but I like just to have it like that. There you go. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. They're very. Oops, that's okay.
I did not do that on purpose.
Can I have another one? This one's good.
Yeah, if you want, we have more. And I also have.
Have any of you been to our new store in Port?
No, but I heard so many good things.
Where is it?
Right at the 401 and
Highway,
Toronto.
Toronto Road, yeah. County Road 2.
There's a big water tower, right?
Yeah. And I also made these really quick last night, so if you want to say, I'll give you a couple.
You made them?
Yes. So we also run actually candle workshops and stuff as well. We have,
Thank you.
for don't burn those, you have to put them in a container.
Okay.
I run workshops on candles. And, whoops, and we also do adult workshops with adult styling candles. So, if you want to do that, we're doing different things. We have like a crayon making workshop coming up for kids. So it's all on our website as well. Yeah.
Crude comments and things.
Well, we won't make crude comments, but we
I bet you
will.
will. Yeah, so it's becoming more and more popular. We didn't realize when Dana first started offering it how popular it was going to be. The adult candle light.
Yeah, so they're, for
We
just
want to get it to the point where you can also have meat and wine.
Absolutely. And it's a couple hours long, it's a lot of fun, and we do different, we're offering
And
different.
how many can
How come you
go?
got two?
Right now we're keeping it at 12, we got 12, 13. So we sort of did that with COVID, and it seems to be a fairly good number now, so to see. There's a few online already that are placed in.
That's the same thing as birthday
Definitely,
candles.
sorry. They're a lot of fun. Especially for fall and stuff. We do special Christmas ones, we got some Christmas events and stuff.
And it's just in Port Hope.
Yeah, if you take Toronto Road, you're right off the 401 right there. So you'll see a big warehouse building. And if you want birthday parties or girls' night parties, just give me a call or shoot me an email. So, yeah.
My birthday's in November. I feel like this is a
I'm
great
turning
idea.
60 in September, so.
There you go. Yeah, and if you want to do it during the week, like I said, there's a night, we can figure out, we'll do a schedule of work around you guys for sure. And then we can incorporate some tours. I know that Beeworks, which is our gift shop, they do tours and stuff as well. So you can do tours and
So you have time
basically
to
it's kind of
learn
this
lots?
talk, and then we'll take you out to the hives, we'll show
Maybe
you how
that's
we
what's
extract
fun.
honey, you'll get to
Learn.
extract some and then uncap it, you'll get to roll some candles. So yeah, it's really cool. Yep.
And we
Yeah.
talked to all the bees and we showed you where the bees live.
John will get stung for you.
I did a bee spitting contest.
Oh yes.
What?
I was very, very.
Drones don't have stingers.
Hey,
You
you
put a
don't tell
drone.
people that.
I have the street cred.
They're gonna make me want to do it.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Don't. Right? We'll get phone calls from parents. My kid's eating bees.
If you put the right bee in your mouth, nothing happens.
Don't
You
eat
put the
bees,
wrong bee
kids.
in your mouth.
Don't be John.
Don't be
There's a new t-shirt.
So I put
Don't
a
be
big
John.
bee in my mouth. You know that? I put a big bee inside my mouth. Then I went,
How far did it go?
probably about there to the
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't a great launch. But it
Oh my God.
was.
All right.
So, okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming.
Oh, that's
10
lovely.
audience. You guys are great.